name is Jacki Dumas, and my paper and presentation is on external threats and internal precautions for government computer systems. So basically, there's two types of external threats to any organization's systems and networks, and one of those is the hacker. Now, the goal of the hacker is to gain unauthorized access to the internal files and everything else that a network or a system would have, and the reasons for doing so vary widely among the criminals, but some of them are bragging rights or testing their skills or causing trouble or even theft. And then some of the methods that they use are infiltrating the infrastructure directly, Trojan horse programs, mobile code, and packet sniffing. And then the other type of external threat is flooding. It's basically just a bombardment of requests, mostly illegitimate ones. So the legitimate ones can't get through, and it basically just crashes the entire site. It's also called denial of service or distributed denial of service. And an organization notorious for these types of threats is a group called Anonymous, and they actually crashed the FBI site and the NSA site in 2012, and they've also been responsible for crashing the PayPal site as well. So flooding is kind of hard to proactively counter against, so it decides to focus its resources on the hacker external threat. And actually, the government has asked Congress for $23 billion to be spent over the next 5 years on cybersecurity. And some of that money will go to software programs such as like antiviruses and things of that nature. But those aren't always financially affordable or wise investments because things are constantly changing in the realm of technology, and people are coming up with new types of ways to penetrate, so it's not always financially sound to just put all your eggs in that basket. So then it has developed training, and it relies on its employees to use safe practices, sound principles, and learn from the training on how to protect their systems. The government then has best business practices and guidelines for allowing users to even get a profile onto the computer, and there are several steps that need to happen for that. And basically, they need to sign a 7-page acceptable user policy document. It basically outlines what you can and cannot do on a government system. And then 8 trainings are required. The subjects are all on general cyber awareness, cybersecurity, and that sort of thing. And one of the trainings in particular needs to be completed annually, so people constantly have the principles ingrained in their heads, so there's no complacency. And then the last thing is submitting a system authorization access request, and that basically goes through security, so they can sign off that a favorable background investigation has come back on the person. And then the Network Enterprise Center will then create a user profile for the person. Now, administrators also have best business practices and guidelines that they need to follow. Some of those are the re-imaging of all new computers. They have to go through an Army imaging through the service desk. And then also, no software is allowed to even be purchased or downloaded onto the computers unless it has a CON, which stands for a Certificate of Networthiness, and there's only one big command that actually issues those, and they have to review each piece of software before they'll allow it onto the computer. And then in order to control what types of computers are hooked up to the network, they have an access control list on each port, and basically if your MAC address is not defined for that port, you will not be able to get any kind of network access, so the internet or any of the network files will not be available to you, and it's basically illegal. You cannot download, or you cannot plug in any computer onto those ports that haven't already been checked by the service desk. So those are the major highlights on how the government relies on its employees to protect itself. There are other tools to use, such as encryption or digital signatures, but those aren't exactly enforced and mandatory to use. most of the time, common sense should prevail if users can't quite remember what they should do in specific situations, but there are also resources available for them to use, such as what should I do guides and that sort of thing. So thank you for your attention, and have a great day.